Do not adjust your television sets, everybody. Your eyes do not deceive you. It is I, Ashish Gadvi, the real host of the Bharat Army podcast, and I'm back. I'm back, everyone, by popular demand. We just had letters coming in from all over the world just saying, where is Ashish? Get him back on. No, I'm kidding, of course. Thank you very much to Rax for filling in for the host seat. It was great to see him, wasn't it? Didn't you think? Having Rax host the podcast is quite fun, I thought. We are back, everybody, and we are discussing the very first in England versus India test at Nottingham. So let's see who we have on the podcast discussing who's around our Bharat Army cricket connoisseurs. We've got Ishan back on the podcast. How you doing, Ishan?
I'm good. Good to have you back as well. 10 minutes late, as Prasanna points out. But yeah.
Prasanna's pointing out we're 10 minutes late. This is Indian timing, everybody. We are supposed to be late. Rav's back on the podcast as well. How you doing, Rav?
Yeah, no, I'm good. It was a long 5 days at Trent Bridge, so just got my voice back, ready for Thursday this week.
I could tell. Yeah, he's a bit croaky. He's a bit croaky from how much he's been shouting at Trent Bridge. And we've got Sanchit staying up late. Sanchit, thank you so much for staying up late. How you doing?
Well, good. Ashish, to celebrate your return, I could even stay till 3 a.m. So it's a special occasion.
What a sweetheart. Look at that. You guys should learn something.
Sanchit's won the fair play award before the games even started.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody give the fair play award to him already. Right, so let's talk about the Trent Bridge test, shall we? Let's first have a look at the scorecard and everything that happened in the test. We've got our little graphic up for you right here. So England won the toss, obviously. 183 that they scored. Joe Root, the thorn in our side. But Bumrah, the big story in that first innings, 4 wickets. He came good after the World Test Championship final. We then responded with 278 runs. KL Rahul, top scorer of 84. Ollie Robinson, of course, picked up a fifer. And Jimmy Anderson, another thorn in our side, 4 wickets in that one. England then responded with 303. Of course, that fantastic Joe Root century, 109 in that second innings. Bumrah, again, picking up 5 wickets. What a performance this has been for him in this series. And then, of course, we responded for 52 for 1. And then the match was drawn because the rain did not stop for that final match. Such a shame that it ended the way it did. But look, we're the Bharat Army, so we have all the answers. Let's start off with you, Rav. Rav, had it not rained, you were obviously there. Who would have won this match?
So my prediction, as I said to a few people on the evening of day 4, was that India would win by 6 wickets. I felt that if we got a full day in, even more so. However, I think as the day got shorter and shorter, I think that probably introduced a bit more risk for India. To the point where I think it was very, very possible that 9 wickets could have fallen if we'd have been overly aggressive on a very, very grey day against Robinson and Jimmy. But I think it's really fair to say that we dominated the test match. And I think that we've got a lot of positives, certainly more positives than England going into Lords' game on Thursday.
Yeah, big game that one now at Lords. Ishan, who would have won this match?
India, but I think it would not have been 6 wickets. I think it would have been 4 wickets or 5. I mean, actually 5 wickets. I think it would have been Pant and Jadeja finishing off the job for us because they seem to be the most reliable batsmen in our team. But I think actually slightly contrary to what Rav said, I think if once the day became shorter, I thought it became less risky for India. Because just like in a T20, like when you go from a 50 to a 20 over game, you reduce there are less overs to lose that many more wickets. I felt like if we were to play a 40 over game or a 45 over game on the final day, I don't think India would have that big a risk of being bowled out because for losing 9 wickets in 45 overs, as good as the bowling might be, it'll take a serious collapse. So I thought the less shorter the day got, the more it suited India to go for the all-out win. That's why I was surprised they called it off when they did, and Kohli didn't want to even have 20 overs to try and if you got 20 overs at the end of the day, you could have maybe tried it. If it didn't work, you could have just defended 20 overs. Otherwise, you could have actually gone for the win. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the thing is that it worried me a little bit in those raining conditions. I was thinking, oh God, are we going to face Jimmy in these conditions with all of this swing in the rain and the clouds? Sanjit, from where you were looking at it, who do you think was going to win this match?
Well, before I answer, I know that Ahan will correct with the facts that he has with a proof on the group chat. But to be very honest, purely based on the overall match context, I was a little bit pessimistic about our chances coming on day five, knowing that the rain will be playing a huge part on day five. And whenever there is a shortened day, which is played in an Indian Test match, I always fear. I mean, all those memories of 2018, at Boston Test, Southampton, and even the first test in South Africa, they all came back haunting me. So I was really worried about how we would approach this chase if it was a, let's say, 50 or 60 overs game. But yeah, I mean, if I look back at the overall test, I mean, England would be the happier side going into Lords, because they might just be relieved that India would have won it if it was a full fifth day game. So really happy with how we actually responded after that root century, because very often we see that whenever that one innings from the opposition comes, then our entire team just collapses. The Sam Curran example is a prime one from 2018. So really happy with how we responded after that root inning. So really optimistic for the Lord's Test.
Well, look, we're going to talk about the positives and the negatives of this match going into the Lord's Test, of course, because we're going to need all the boosters that we can get. The biggest one, of course, being we saw in the opening graphic with the scoreboard, KL Rahul. Eh? Who thought that he had that in him? Let's go back to you, Sanjit. Let's just stick with you for the time being. KL Rahul, quite the performance from him. I did not expect it that he would have pulled out a decent performance in a test in England. It's been a while since he's played a test, but he kind of did the business up top with Rohit.
Definitely, and I mean, Ashish, I mean, you would also agree that we all used to debate about KL Rahul being the best-looking player in the Indian cricket side, but now it is also slowly becoming the case that he could be the best player in this side after the end of five Test matches. So really, I mean, so happy to see KL Rahul performing the way he did in the last three games that he played in England, counting the Oval in 2018 as well. I mean, it is not an easy job opening in England. I mean, the way he batted in the practice game and also in this test match was phenomenal. I mean, even in the second innings, I felt that he had a big score in him. He gave us the great start, but he was outdone by Stuart Broad's dismissal. But really positive signs for KL Rahul as a test match player. But I do see his future lying in the middle order when our first choice openers comes back into play, because that would make things yet again awkward for someone like Mayank Agarwal, who is getting quite unlucky, missing out on his opportunities because of untimely injuries. So really, it would be interesting to see how we approach the KL Rahul conundrum in the upcoming games.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Thank you very much, Amish, welcoming me back to the podcast. Also, Sanjit, your fan base growing by the minute. We had a comment from Omkar just a little while ago saying he's only here for Sanjit, bro. Thank you very much. There are obviously other people here as well, but Sanjit being the most important one. And also, it is not a debate. KL Rahul is the best looking man in the Indian cricket team. Ahan, KL Rahul, he has played himself back into the test team, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, for me at least, it felt good that he came good, because I had had an argument with a few people on the forum discussing KL Rahul and Mayank Agarwal. So the fact that he actually decided to show up and score some runs was a good thing. And I think it's pretty convenient that JC has some places to be today of all days, when he was the one
very
who was
convenient. That right, very convenient.
Vehemently against KL. But yeah, I think what Sanjay said is right. I don't know what they're going to do with KL. I mean, KL will stay. He has to stay. But I do have a feeling that this is not the end for Mayank. I think he might be coming. I think they are seriously looking at him coming in the next 2 or 3 games. And if he does come in, it's going to be really interesting how they fit it all around. I'd say the most ideal situation. I mean, the ideal way for. Yeah, I like the caption. But I'd say the most ideal way to juggle it all around would probably be to have Mayank and Rohit open, and then put KL at 3, or you can even have Mayank at 3, and then the current number 3 has to make way. But it is, I think KL Rahul has definitely given himself the full series. Whether or not who else plays around him is up for debate, but I think KL will get the full series for sure.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, well, we will be talking about our number 3, 4, and 5 a little bit later. Don't you worry about that. Stay tuned for that. Rav, KL Rahul, hey, he's taken us all by surprise.
Yeah, KL was really good. I think he left the ball really well. I think one thing that he said on, I think it was the end of his first day's play, was that he came here last time and he kind of had like 2 or 3 shots for every ball, and he was overthinking the game and hitting across the line and getting bowled, getting dragged on, etc. So I think he said he's got a bit of a clearer mind now. He's got certainly probably a tighter game, a more compact game, and I think we saw that. I think obviously he got dropped, Joe Root, in the 70s. It would have been nice for him to score 100, but on that kind of wicket where every kind of 10th ball, 20th ball was doing quite a lot, it was a really, really good innings. And I think he will obviously take a lot of confidence, because those were probably on the more extreme end of conditions that he's likely to face in this series. He's going to go to Lords. It's going to be a relatively sunny few days, and then from there, hopefully, bank holiday weekend the same. So I think he faced really, really tough conditions. Trent Bridge, where the ball's known to do a lot, and it's Jimmy's best ground, and he was brilliant. So let's hope he now has probably the kind of 400-500 run series that we're going to need other players to have, because, as I said in the preview to this whole series, I'm just not sure that Kohli's going to get the 600, 700 runs. So we're going to need to support him with other players, and KL started off doing that really well.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, big positive there, KL Rahul is in this series. We're obviously going to have high hopes for him going forward for the rest of the series, but he certainly started it off on a positive note. One of the other guys that has played very positively in this match, of course, we mentioned him in the opening score as well, Jasprit Bumrah. I think apart from Sanchit, we were all there at the World Test Championship final, in which he didn't take any wickets, and I think that was his second wicketless test in a row, I believe. So, we were all kind of, the mind games were already going with us, thinking, what is going on with Jasprit Bumrah? But he's come back in big style in this match. And I think that when Jasprit Bumrah is in full flow, there are fewer fast bowlers in the world who are more lethal than him. Rav, let's stick with you for the moment. How much of it was a relief just to see Bumrah back to his best?
Absolutely. I think if you go back to the first day, and I think it was the 5th ball of the day when he traps Burns on the crease with a ball that comes back, it reminded me a lot of that Keaton Jennings wicket in Southampton in the first over as well, that just that came back into the left-hander. So I think clearly he's found his length, and I think that's the biggest kind of plus that we've seen out there, in terms of when you look back at the World Test Championship final, he was just half a yard too short. And I think that when he come into this game after 3 weeks, we can talk about his batting a bit as well, I hope. But I think he came in, and certainly Trent Bridge, he loves the conditions here. It's his second successive 5-wicket haul on the ground. And I think really he troubled them all day long. I think he was as troubling to even Joe Root in the 90s than, for example, Jimmy Anderson was to KL in the 80s. So the great thing, we know that 2018, we really missed Bumrah in those first few games because of his finger injury. So him coming into the series and taking 9 first up is just really, really good for the series. I think it sets him up nicely. And I think we're going to need him on, Lords is a wicket where we know that obviously Ishan can do really well, but Bumrah with the slope, I think could be absolutely lethal with the bouncers as well. So I think he's going to have another really good test match on Thursday.
Yeah, and obviously you did mention it, but the tail wagged a fair bit in this test as well. Who would have thought that? Also contributing with the runs as well was Jasprit Bumrah. Well done to him, because that's always one of our big complaints, is that our tail just capitulates. Ishan, Jasprit Bumrah back to his best?
I don't know where all this talk about a comeback for Jasprit Bumrah is coming from. I mean, he had maybe one bad test. People are allowed to have one-off bad tests. So I'm not sure it's like a comeback.
No, they're not.
It's just Bumrah doing what Bumrah does on a regular basis. I think KL Rahul said that as well in his post-match conference that he did with the media. But I think as good as Bumrah's bowling and batting was in this test series, I think it'll be a shame and a crime not to mention his Instagram captions after the test match.
Yeah, can you explain this, please? Because can you explain this? Because I'm not the most up to date on Jasprit Bumrah's Instagram. What exactly has he said on Instagram?
So he puts 2 photos of him celebrating wickets. I actually have it open right here. So he puts 2 pictures of him celebrating wickets after in the game, and the caption just reads, "Still don't need you," and that just basically means that the haters are gonna hate, and Bumrah will do what he has to do. Simple.
Cryptic to say the least. Okay, all right, Jasprit Bumrah. We'll have to see what he posts then. Sanjit, Jasprit Bumrah, what were your thoughts on his performance?
Well, before I answer that, I mean, it is safe to say that I'm not a good cryptic reader as Ahan is, because I thought that still don't need you was meant for maybe saying that I don't need the clouds to perform. So that's definitely not the case. But but yeah, I think it was a massive effort from Jasprit Bumrah, and I agree with Ahan. I mean, we don't know how could people doubt the man himself. I mean, he's had a stellar of a career in Test cricket so far, and he's just had 2 wicketless games, and out of that, I mean, he played one of the game in India where I think most of the overs were bowled by a spinner, so that doesn't need to be counted. But the World Test Championship final, I don't regard that entirely, because in the second innings, I believe that there was one phase where he was bowling really well. He was bowling those beautiful line and length, which actually got him into the groove going ahead into this English tour. So I didn't actually believe that Jasprit Bumrah was totally out of form. But yeah, I mean, it's so good to see him coming back as a reply to all the haters that were there on social media. And what better way to arrive to announce your arrival by taking the wicket in the first over itself, and also scoring runs with the bat itself. I mean, there is nothing Jasprit Bumrah can't do. Even before the match, there was a photo posted with Jasprit Bumrah bowling with his pads on, so that was a clear indication of what he was about to do in this test match. So really happy for Jasprit, and I'm really looking forward to see what he does for us in this test series.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, still don't need you. Well, we still need you, Jasprit Bumrah, and we hope you stick around for many years to come. So those are some of the highlights for us in this match. We also had some decent bowling performances from Mohammad Siraj as well. First time he's bowled in England. Rav, what did you make of Mohammad Siraj? He's also quite feisty out there as well, isn't he?
Yeah, I know that Ahan's got some views on how Siraj is bowled, so I'm going to slightly put those into context before him as well. So I think for a guy that has come over obviously and bowled in English conditions in a test match for the first time, I think he showed a lot of spirit, a lot of exuberance, and I personally really liked how he got in the face of pretty much everybody that he bowled to, which I think is kind of very much in the VK mould. I do think he bowled a little bit loose at times, but I'm fine with that because it's a journey, and it's a journey he'll find through the series, and he'll get better and better. And this kid will be on the next tour as well. So I see it a kind of a long-term view with him. I just to talk about somebody else as well. I also thought Shardul bowled really nicely, obviously before his injury, and I think he took some really key wickets, as he always seems to. So I think it was a real team effort, and I think they justified the combination of 4 seamers and 1 spinner really nicely.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And when I saw Mohammad Siraj getting all up in Sam Curran's face, I just thought, you can't put a Royal Challenger Bangalore and a Chennai Super King on the same pitch at the same time. I tell you, just bad things will happen. Ahan, Mohammad Siraj, what's your thoughts?
I think he did okay, but I think it's just all a bit over the top with him right now. As in, I think anything he does, everyone's like, "Oh my God, he's doing so well." It's because he gets in the other team's face. It's a bit like Kohli used to be. It's like he just gets in your face and starts arguing with them, and it's great to watch. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie. In the second innings, his bowling performance was pretty average. Like there was this phase where I was watching it. I think it was when Sibley and Root were batting, and then Bairstow and Root were batting. And he was bowling a boundary ball every over. Like every over was either going short. There was one ball that was short and wide, or one on the legs, and Root was just putting it away with ease. So I
was just going to say with that though, Siraj is a very unique option for us because he's one of the only bowlers we have who can seam the ball in and out as well as swinging the ball in and out. So in a way, you kind of, if it was me, if I was going to roll the dice, I would kind of use him as a real attacking option. And if he's going to go for runs, this is why I think maybe Ishan, we missed when Root got his 100, that session where all the runs were coming, he maybe missed like an Ishan Sharma to kind of shut down an end for about an hour, right? But I think really, if you look at Siraj, I think there's so much talent that I'm kind of okay with him spraying a little bit because he's only going to get better, right?
I mean, I kind of get that, but the issue is then with the team combination we chose, Shardul is the same thing. He goes for runs, but he takes you wickets. You can't have two of those in a test match, according to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, he's good. He's obviously going to get better. He's definitely the future of Indian fast bowling with probably Bumrah. But I think at this moment in time, would I pick him ahead of Ishan Sharma? No, because I think Ishan is the better bowler, and he's played here before, and he's maybe if we had, maybe like in a situation, maybe if we win two in the next two and we need to rest someone, then get him in. But I play Ishan in the next game over him, just because I think he's okay, like he's good, but Ishan is more likely to give you success at this moment. That's it. That's my views.
I thought the worst. I think that Siraj was the worst bowler in the second innings. I thought Muhammad Shami was the worst bowler.
Yeah, Shami was quite bad.
He was good first innings, but he was just way too short and on the pads like every over in the second innings.
You know, oddly, who Mohammad Siraj reminds me of a little bit. I don't mean this to be unkind to him or anything like that. I don't mean it in a bad way. But like, he reminds me a little bit of Sreesanth. Because, like, you know, with the swing both ways and stuff, and then getting all up in the batsman's face and all of that, there's just a little bit about Sreesanth about him.
Sreesanth was the most entertaining player to watch.
That's true, and 2007 as well. Sreesanth was a big reason why we won a Test series in England. Sanchit, let's have your thoughts on Mohammad Siraj.
Well, to be honest, I really don't get the extra criticism on Mohammad Siraj because, as Rav rightly said, that I don't believe that he was the worst bowler in the second innings. I feel Shami was a bit disappointing given the way how he is known for his exploits in the second innings. We call him the second innings Shami for a reason. So it was really disappointing to see how Shami went for runs. I think 4.5 in a test match is really not good. But with Siraj, I feel yes, he lacked a little bit of discipline because we know that he is the long-term replacement for someone like Ishan Sharma. So yes, I think what worked with Siraj, I mean, I'll just talk about the positives on Siraj, was that he was trying really, really hard to ball on that fourth stump line on the outside the off stump. I think that is really a good tactic to use against the English batsman. But unfortunately, there wasn't too much lateral movement around to support our bowlers. But I really liked the plan that he actually went ahead with in the second innings. But unfortunately, it didn't come in. But yes, I think with experience, he'll be getting that discipline. We know how Ishan Sharma turned out to be such a great player for us in Test cricket. I mean, he started off pretty slowly after that 2008 phase, but then he's such a veteran for us. So I really see a good future for someone like Siraj as well. Once he finds that balance between bowling discipline lines like Ishan Sharma and also bowling those aggressive lines outside off stump. So I wasn't really that disappointed with Siraj. I mean, but yes, as Ahan rightly said, that once Ishant is fit, I would definitely have him in place of Siraj in the second game.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we just had a comment come in from Rajesh a little while ago saying Ahan wanted Avesh Khan ahead of Jassi Beed. No idea.
That's absolute nonsense. I never said that.
Libelous.
Oh dear, libelous. Right. Well, speaking of Mohammad Shami, you know, let's also talk about some of the other negatives in this test, because obviously, you know, there were still things that we have to keep our eye on going ahead. So look, let's talk about the main thing that we're all here to talk about. Okay, number 3, 4, 5. Okay, Pujara, Kohli, Rahane. It was our biggest concern coming into this match was the performance of those three. Obviously, World Test Championship final left a lot to be desired, and that was our main fear coming into these English conditions as well. So let's start with Rav. Rav, number 3, 4, 5. What is going on with those three, and how do we rectify this somewhat of a crisis in that middle order?
Yeah, I just think if you go back to the dismissals, I think obviously Pujara, I think, got a very good ball. I think a lot of people will say he didn't move his feet, but I'm kind of coming to the conclusion with Pujara now in his third tour of England that you kind of saw this a lot in the kind of 80s and 90s. You saw Asian players who did very well in Asia, but just didn't travel very well, especially when the ball swing and seams. And I just think Pujara is a bit more of a throwback to that, where, you know, we know he was a heavy run scorer in Asia, huge double hundreds, etc. That's obviously not been happening recently as well. But I think, England, I just don't think is the place for him. I think when nips and moves about, I just don't think, he used to get bowled a lot in England as well. Kohli, I think if you go back to the dismissal again, could he have left the ball? I said yes. A lot of people said no. I think personally, if you look at how Root started, he certainly left the ball a lot more confidently at the beginning. Kohli, we know, likes to feel ball on bat, so I think that maybe came into it. Rahane almost runs himself, and then 10 minutes later successfully runs himself out.
That was one thing weird. I had no idea what was going on there.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird. The whole test match, there was something like 15 run-out chances for both teams. And I think if you go and look at it, I don't know if KL's got a slight issue with his calling, but he was obviously involved in a lot of those partnerships. But Rahane, it's so disappointing because this is a guy who I personally think I would have batting at number 3. Because I think that in England, in these conditions, he is somebody who has the game to be able to score runs. But he's just not really doing himself any favours. And I think whilst he's not going to kind of get driven, we need our vice captain. I keep saying this. He's the vice captain. He needs to score runs. And it's not enough. He's got 150 in his last 20 innings in Test cricket. And that was his 100 at Melbourne. So as for all the discussions about he's been doing amazing or everything, he didn't even do anything in Australia apart from that one innings. He didn't do anything at the Gabba. So he needs to start scoring more runs because otherwise, we've got other options. As the guys have said, at number 5, we've got other players who can come in. It's a shame we don't have Gill because maybe Gill could have been an option as well. But I just think we're now at a point where we're getting to the point where 6, 7, and 8 are scoring more runs on a consistent basis. And that's just, we've never had that. And that was England in 2018. And now we've become slightly like that. So it's obviously concerning. We were on top in a whole game against England with Kohli scoring the first ball duck. So that shows you that when these guys score runs, we will absolutely hammer England. And that's what we're all here for. So that's what needs to happen.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Well, like we said with Rahane, he's been somewhat of a conundrum for quite a while now. Obviously, he scored 49 in that first innings of the World Test Championship final and then got out to a terrible shot. Ishan, what is going on with 3, 4, and 5?
I mean, as Rav said, we're getting more runs from 6, 7, 8. I mean, this test match, we got more runs from 9, 10, and 11 than we got from 3, 4, and 5. And I know, and Rav also spoke about Kohli scoring, not being able to score 600 runs. I mean, it'd be good if he can score 1 run first, then maybe we can talk about the 600 coming later. But I think, honestly, if Kohli had to get a first ball duck, this is a controversial opinion, but if he had to get a duck anywhere in the series, like any time in the series, I'd rather he gets it first match, because I feel like him getting a duck and then Root doing what he did this test match is just going to drive him so crazy. Like, it's going to drive him completely insane. The fact that the guy who's supposed to be his direct nemesis and the guy who's supposed to get him out all the time got him out on a first ball duck, it's just going to absolutely drive him up the wall, and he's going to be so switched on, in my opinion, for the next 4 games. It's going to be like 2018 Kohli when he came here, in the sense that he's going to, in 2018 you could see he really, really, really wanted it. He was completely on another level of switched on. I think that's what he's going to go into now. Or hopefully that's what he's going to go into. And then if he goes to that level, then it's going to be a joy to watch. But I think 4 is not that big an issue. 3 and 5, I mean...
Why is 4 not that big an issue?
Because he's done... I mean, I believe that he still has it in him to come back and do... He just... I know what you're saying. He's also doing the same thing. But I think it's just the sense that he's done it at such a high level for so long that he's not that... And you don't ever feel like he's that far off. You just feel like he needs 1 innings to click it back.
He's got a lot of credit in that.
Yeah, and I think for me though, for 3 and 5, I mean, I know JC's not here, but as he says all the time, it just seems like Pujara always gets unplayable balls, and I don't know. I think there's this thing now about his bat coming down angled, and what might actually end up happening is the fact that he got 12 of 13, and the match got called off after that. It might actually buy him another game. Whereas if he had failed in the second innings, he might even have been dropped. Because I think now with the 12 of 13 not out, you can kind of sell it as, he's trying to change his game. He's trying to bat for the team. He's batting with intent. And I can see them all playing as 3-4-5 again this test match. Although I would probably say this is probably the last one. If Pujara fails again, I can see him going out, especially with not only Mayank being fit now, but Surya Kumar Yadav becoming available, Shaw becoming available. The competition increases so much more after this test match as well. So I think it's a big test match for 3, 4, and 3 and 5 more. Even 5, I mean, he's vice captain. He's not going anywhere. So 3 mainly. Pujara really needs to switch on this game. And let's see. And I mean, I hope Rahane scores some runs. He'll get one innings in this series where everyone's going to be talking about, he's going to go. This is his last test match, and then he'll score 100, or he'll score like an 80, or he'll do something that'll win us the game. It's just classic Rahane. It's about when that'll come, that one innings.
Yes, indeed. Shout out to JC. Obviously getting quite a lot of mentions on this podcast, even though he's not here. I must admit, I've had quite a few debates with JC about Pujara and whether he's actually good enough for the team. And I must admit, it's getting harder and harder to debate with JC about that. Sanjit, what's your thoughts on 3, 4, and 5?
Well, to be honest, we actually had an entire 1 hour segment dedicated in the preview about mainly talking about 3, 4, and 5, especially 3 and 5. So not going to dive deep down into it. But what I would like to say is that I'm really not that concerned with Rahane, to be very honest. But the only thing that is concerning is the way he gets out. I mean, even in the World Test Championship final, we saw him working hard for those 40 odd runs, but then he always finds a way to just give it away after such a great effort in the middle. But that is really disappointing me, because as most of you said, that he is someone who is looked as the potential number 3 in place of Pujara in this series. But the way he is giving away his wickets cheaply, I think that is really concerning, especially even in this test match we saw how he was looking to find innovative ways to get himself run out. That was really disappointing. So I'm really worried about how Rahane gets out more than how he plays, because he still, I mean, he can score big runs, but the way he gets out is really concerning. And talking about Pujara, I mean, after such a start that we got, I think 97 odd runs for no wicket, and then that spell from Jimmy Anderson, when, to be very honest, I mean, when Pujara came on to bat, we were expecting that unplayable ball to come any minute. I mean, that was really a tough phase. So, Virat Kohli, I mean, you could debate all you want about whether he should have left the ball or not left the ball. I mean, that is a different topic. But I really feel that was a great delivery from Jamie Anderson. I mean, the ball did wobble away a little bit when it came in. So some might say that Kohli's positive intent to feel the ball, I think that came into the play. But I really don't want to dive too much into it. So I do feel that number 3, 4, and 5 do have a big series this time, and not just because this could be the last English tour. And I'm not really crediting the fact that he is the captain, but still, does require criticism for the way how he plays this series, because he is actually looked up as the player to actually lead us to a series victory. So he needs to perform with the bat, and hopefully the 2018 Kohli comes in partnership with someone like KL Rahul at the top.
Yeah, Ahan, go for it.
Just one more thing. I think with Kohli, the reason also why he's not under so much pressure is that he's currently the captain. And if you look at realistic alternatives as captain to Kohli, if you were to like criticize him to the extent that you're going to drop him, which is obviously going really far. But Rahane is in the same position. He's not really scoring runs. Pujara is another senior player, not really scoring runs. Rohit, everyone knows my views on Rohit. I mean, he did the same thing this test match. He scored 35 runs, looked really good, and then pull shots straight into the hands of the fielder. I think he's giving classes to Johnny Bairstow also, clearly. I mean, because he's doing the exact same things. But I think, so there's not really an alternative. KL is just coming back. So who do you give the captaincy to if you're realistically looking at giving Virat like a rest?
I'm surprised you've not chosen your favourite cricketer in the world, Rishabh Pant.
He's a bit too young to be captain of India. As I let him first do captain of Delhi Capitals, then we'll talk about India. But I think one thing for sure is like it's a big series, as Sanjay is saying, and these three really need to switch on, because without them, as much as we came close to winning this time, I think if Root keeps scoring the way he is and our 3, 4, 5 don't score runs, then we're going to have an issue, because at some point Butler and Bairstow will have at least 1 or 2 good innings each. And the minute they click with Root clicking, that becomes a big issue for us. So I hope for the team's sake that the 3, 4, 5 start getting into some kind of form, because we desperately need them to score some runs.
Indeed, yeah. Well, look, we talked about how Root might be a bit of an arch nemesis going forward into this series. Can we just talk very quickly about Jimmy Anderson for a minute? Because we talked about unplayable deliveries and stuff in there. And the reason why I don't want to have too much of a go at Virat Kohli, anyone saying he should have left that ball and stuff, I don't know what you do about a ball like that. The way it was kind of looking like it was shaping into like hit middle and leg, and then suddenly just like pitched on like, and then like took the outside edge. Rav, there's something about this guy, Jimmy Anderson, 39 years of age. I know it's in his home conditions and all. Every time he gets a ball in his hand, I have to go hide behind the back of my sofa.
I think Jimmy's a brilliant bowler, but I have to be controversial here. I have to say that on day 2, you should be able to leave a ball like that on length. And I think that a ball that was always outside kind of 5th stump, you go back to the Jameson dismissal in the second innings of the final. My view is that I think Kohli at the moment is playing quite a lot for the in-swinger. I think it's just moving him across, and I think he's playing at balls that he doesn't have to. And that's kind of what he did in 2014 as well. So 2018, obviously, he starts batting outside the crease, making changes, etc. But to be fair, we all talk about how good Ashwin is in Asia. There's never been a more dominant bowler in conditions, arguably, than Jimmy in England. So I think we've got to give credit where it's due. You're talking about a master in these conditions, and somebody who just has supreme control over where he wants to put the ball, whenever he wants to put the ball. So, but that's what you've got to expect. That's what you've got to expect, Kohli, this series, and that you've got to find a way to score runs. And KL, if you look at the way KL played, KL was leaving quite a lot. He did get forward, played and missed, but he left balls and then he just started afresh. And then after that, he kind of imposed himself on other bowlers. He drove Jimmy Anderson pretty well as well. So I think he was a little bit more decisive than perhaps other players. And I think hopefully we see other players do that. One thing to mention about what we saw at Trent Bridge as well is that Jimmy Anderson hasn't taken one new ball wicket for England this summer. All of his wickets have come after his first spell. So that suggests that the Duke's ball is actually swinging more in its second, third spells kind of after 20 overs. So India, the whole idea about kind of getting yourself in kind of never really works in England. You've got to concentrate all the time. And that's why the team find it traditionally quite hard. So that's why I think KL deserves a lot of credit, because with all these rain breaks as well, to come off, come on, then come on, and then as the ball's getting older and doing more as the day goes on, I think was really good. So hopefully, as time goes on, the other guys can learn that, because we're going to Headingley after this, and then the Oval, and then Manchester. So they are going to get these conditions at some point again, and they've got to find a way. And I'm sure Kohli will. He's an absolute class player, and a lot of the England fans know it's just a matter of time. But he's got to find a way, and he's got to find a way soon, because Ahan's right that England guys will close the gaps on in terms of run deficits. They've got Hamid coming in probably, who's probably going to score. You've got runs in the warm-up. So we've got to find a way.
Yeah, Moeen Ali is probably coming back for the next test at Lords.
And Moeen as well. So, this is really crucial. And hopefully Lords is quite a good surface first 3-4 days. So really, they're going to get quite a good batting wicket under some sunlight, and there's no excuses now.
I think also one thing we forget, just one quick thing, is that although Kohli scored runs in 2018 and he scored a bucketload of them, he was dropped on 0 in his first innings in that series as well. So, and sometimes as a top player, like one drop can completely change the way you think in that moment, and you just feel like everything's going for you. So it's not like Kohli's always dominated these conditions. He's had his issues, and I think we need to, maybe he's amazing, but maybe we need to just make sure that we don't get overexcited about it. Having said that, I have a feeling this still don't need you caption is going to become a bit of a trend this series. I can see after the second test match Virat Kohli going still don't need you with the picture, name on the honors board, all of that. We'll see.
He'll have to pull his shirt up and have still don't need you on his shirt,
yeah.
Have that why always me. Yeah. Sanjit, any views about Jimmy Anderson and how we go about tackling him?
Well, to be honest, I think the best way to deal with Jimmy Anderson is that I think we should look to play him according to his merit. I mean, we did that well in 2018. Yes, there were lots of drop chances, as Ahan rightly pointed out, but I think we shouldn't look to do something extra against him. But I really feel, I don't know if that's what is going to happen, because there might be a possibility that Mark Wood would be playing in the second match, given that Broad is currently doubtful for that test match, and Wood is a classic bowler. So I really don't know how we should approach the duo. I mean, I do feel that Mark Wood will be a bigger threat than the likes of Jimmy Anderson, Ollie Robinson in the games going forward, just because of the way how he bowls and his seam position. So I really feel that we should play Anderson to his merits, and the way how Jadeja and KL Rahul played. I mean, with soft hands in that partnership. I mean, that is actually should be the right representation to play someone like Jimmy Anderson. But I think we shouldn't actually look to target just one bowler. I mean, they're going to be really at their best strength in the second game onwards, with Wood coming in.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we had a comment come in a little while ago from Hims saying Saha for captain. I think there's more of a chance of Louis Saha becoming the captain of the Indian cricket team than there is for Ridhiman Saha. Right then, moving forward, the next test, of course, is at Lords, and you know we're trying to play manager in our heads. We're trying to play Ravi Shastri again. What changes would you guys make if you could make some changes? Obviously. Ashwin's name is being bandied about. We've obviously mentioned Mayank Agarwal and whether he could fit into the team somehow. So let's start with you, Sanchit. What changes would you make to the Lord's Test?
I'll actually make two changes. One could be a forced one, with Shardul Thakur potentially being out of the game. I mean, certain reports have been circulated about that. So Ashwin is a direct replacement for him, just because of his ability with the bat, and I do feel that we shouldn't let someone like Ashwin be out of the team for long. I mean, yes, we have to pick a team based on conditions, but I really feel that Ashwin is that one bowler who just inspires the people around him, and the way he bowled in 2018 as well in the English tour. I mean, maybe that could be this could the missing out on the first test could be the blessing in disguise for someone like Ashwin to just spur back into this side and just wreak havoc in the English order. And with Moeen Ali coming into the middle order, I mean, he got a left-handed option in the English middle order, so that could be actually a good ploy to exploit. So I'm definitely looking forward to see Ashwin back for Shardul if Shardul is indeed missing out. And one more change would be Ishan Sharma, if he's fit, comes in for Mohammad Siraj. Yes, Siraj did lack a little bit of discipline in the first game, though he bowled well at times. But I do feel we shouldn't. We shouldn't actually waste the potential that Ishan Sharma has in his last few years, and the way he bowled at Lords in 2014 should speak for itself. I mean, you need to back experience, and we talked about Jimmy Anderson earlier, just about what kind of how should we tackle him and how is a threat. I mean, that only comes from being an experienced figure in this English condition. So we should definitely have someone like Ishan Sharma leading the bowling attack with an informed Jasprit Bumrah in partnership. So I'm definitely looking forward to see these two changes in the upcoming game.
Yeah, especially at Lords and the heroics that he's performed in Lords in the past, Ishan Sharma. Ahan, what's your changes then for the Lords Test?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what Sanchit said. I think both of them, and I do Ashwin for Thakur, even if Thakur is not injured, because I think it's going to be sunny all 5 days, and if it's sunny, the pitch will dry out and it should spin. And you know how like there used to be this phase where Broad used to be dropped in the first Test match, and then he used to come back like a madman and just take insane amounts of wickets of like everyone. So I feel like that might actually happen with Ashwin, because he's that kind of guy who just hates sitting out of the game because he's always thinking about cricket. So I feel like that might just like instigate him into coming in and just wreaking havoc and taking like 4, 5, 6, 7 wickets even in the match. I would also make one more change, which I don't think the Indian team will actually do. But since you asked me if I was Ravi Shastri, I'd bring in Mayank for Pujara and then switch KL and Mayank. Or I mean, though according to me, it doesn't matter who bats at opening and who bats at 3. I would make that change, but it probably won't happen this Test match. It might happen the Test match after.
Fair enough, yeah. And Rav, what are your changes for the Lord's Test?
So I think Siraj bowled really well, but I think knowledge of Lords and the slope, especially to a debutant, it can be quite tricky. I've seen quite a few bowlers come to Lords their first trip and just really struggle bowling down the slope. So I'm going to bring Ishan back for Siraj. Ashwin for Shardul is probably enforced because we don't have another fast bowling all-rounder. But, we've not seen much turn at Lords. I think somebody put a stat at the beginning of the show, last 5 tests at Lords average 61 for spinners. So I'm not sure Ashwin's going to get too much purchase. Also, there's a break and then there's Headingley, and I don't think he'll play there. So if he's going to play, he's going to play now. Also, I'm going to make one more change. It's just a change to the batting order, and I'm going to put Jadeja at 6, and I'm going to put Bunt at 7, because I think that's going to scare England a lot more if we can have Jadeja coming in, averaging 40 as he is, 46. If he can get some runs, and then we've got Bunt to come in, I think that would be quite explosive and something that would keep England kind of thinking about where the game's headed. So that's the only other change I would make. I'd make the 2 changes and then the batting order change.
Fair enough. Yeah, Ahan, do you want to address that question from Amish? He's asking how you feel about KL forcing Mayank to potentially miss out.
Sorry, I'm all for Team India. If the team's doing well, then it's all good. And I think eventually they both will get that chance, because it's not like a lot of the other batsmen are instilling too much confidence in the team right now. So they both will get that chance, and they're both top players. So yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I would go for pretty similar changes to the ones that we've all mentioned. I think Ishant and Ashwin have got to come in for the same guys that you were mentioning, Siraj and Shardul Thakur. Mayank Agarwal, I would actually put into to my changes, but I would put him in for Rahane. I think Rahane just needs some time out of the team, to be honest. That whole run out thing, everything, it just seemed like his head wasn't quite in it. I know Pujara had a little bit more time at the crease. He got a hell of a delivery as well. And I think Rahane just needs some time away. I'm not sure what relevance a vice captain actually has to the team. So just get Rohit to be the vice captain for me, or Ashwin, I don't know. But yeah, it would be Mayank coming in for Rahane for me, and then whoever to open. Ahan, do you want to come back on that?
No, yeah, I think what you were saying about the Rahane thing, even what we forget is with Pujara, he got out caught, but like I think 6 or 7 balls before that, he was actually given out LBW, leaving something that to the naked eye it looked pretty dead out, and we were all really shocked that it was missing the stump. So I mean, it's not like he's in a great frame of mind either. He's a bit frazzled and he's not making the best decisions. So I think They both need time out, but it's about whether you can give them the timeout and who you bring in to give who the timeout. It's going to be a big change.
Just flip a coin, basically. Say heads Pujara, tails Rahane. Whoever it lands on can come on.
I hope Kohli doesn't flip the coin.
It'll land back in the middle.
Dear. Yeah, we'll get Root to flip it. Right, so that's all the time that we have for this episode, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. We had loads of really great comments coming in, so thank you everybody for joining us and watching this show. Only a few days away now, the Lord's Test, so many of us are going down to the match. If you're going down to the match as well, let us know. We'll hopefully see lots and lots of you guys down there in the stands. We'll, of course, be there making noise for the whole 5 days. I think that the weather forecast is supposed to be sunny for the 5 days, so hopefully we'll get a full match in. But
Stuart Broad will not be there.
Stuart Broad will not be there, so we'll have to change the lyrics to a certain song. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you on the next episode, which will be a review of the Lord's Test. So we'll be catching up with you then, when hopefully India will be 1-0 up in the series. So we'll see you then. Thank you very much, everybody, and Jai Hind.